friends, it's Grace, and today I'm doing my January reading wrap-up. I read 22 books in January, so I'm pretty proud of myself. I've definitely noticed in the last few months that more of my reading has been audiobooks than physical, just because my life has gotten more busy, which is great. It's been like theater and stuff, and then editing my own book, which is amazing. But nevertheless, I'm listening to more audiobooks than I am reading physically, because I'm always listening to an audiobook, but I'm not finding time every single day to read. So the first book I read in January was Tweet Cute. I had an advanced copy that I won from a Goodreads giveaway, which was insane because, like, I never win Goodreads giveaways. This one was so cute. I gave it 4 stars. It's kind of enemies to lovers. It's kind of mistaken identity. It's definitely like a redoing of You've Got Mail. I thought this was really cute, gave it 4 stars. It was my second favorite read of the month. Next, I listened to Thunderhead because, as you may have seen in my December wrap-up, I read Scythe, but I ended up switching to audio because it feels really dense and I didn't really love it, and so it was just better for me on audio. So I also listened to Thunderhead even though I own it. This one I gave 2 stars and I gave the first one 1.5 stars, and so this one I did enjoy more, but it's still not my kind of book. Next, I read One of Us is Lying. I had really been looking forward to this one, and I ended up giving it 4 stars, so that's awesome. I'd heard it described as The Breakfast Club, but with murder, and that's pretty much what it was. There are not, like, a bunch of contemporary murder mysteries, and so I was super intrigued the whole way through. I really enjoyed the characters, and I thought the twists were really well done. So I gave this one 4 stars. I would probably say this was my 3rd favorite read of the month. Next, I listened to The Toll. I'm gonna start putting pictures up here of books that I don't own, and that one I gave 2 stars. I think I liked The Toll. I think each book got a better, if I am remembering correctly, but only like a smidgen because I still only gave the 3rd book 2 stars. Next, I listened to Emily Windsnap and the Monster from the Deep. This was a reread, but one that didn't feel like a reread because I last read them in probably elementary or middle school. It was super adorable. I didn't love it as much as the first book, which I gave 4 stars and read in December. So I gave it 3 stars, still very cute. Next, I listened to The Gentleman's Guide to Getting Lucky, which is a novella sequel-ish thing to The Gentleman's Guide to Vice and Virtue, which I really enjoyed and gave 4 stars. So The Gentleman's Guide to Getting Lucky, I gave 3 stars. Next, I read One of Us is Next, and I didn't enjoy this as much as the first one, One of Us is Lying. I gave it 3 stars. I still enjoyed it, but I didn't care about the characters as much, which was a big thing for me. Like, my favorite characters were the characters from the first book. And characters matter a lot to me in a plot, and so I just didn't care about them as much, and the plot itself I didn't care about quite as much. I still gave it 3 stars, which is good, but it wasn't a 4-star level for me like the first one was. Next, I listened to Red, White, and Royal Blue. I had heard so much about this. Like, I don't think I'd heard of anybody giving it less than 4 or 5 stars. It's just really popular on Bookstagram lately, and I just heard so many people talk about it, and so I was like, I have to see what the hype is all about. And I understand what the hype is all about because it was so stinking cute. It was a really well-written story. The characters were very realistic and very lovable, and it just overall was so good, and I gave it 4 stars. This one might have been my 3rd favorite of the month instead of One of Us is Lying. One of Us is Lying might have been 4th favorite. Next, I listened to Emily Windsnap and The Castle in the Mist, which again was a reread, but from so long ago that I didn't remember it at all. And this one I also gave 3 stars. Then I listened to Twice in a Blue Moon. This one I gave 3.5 to 4 stars. I enjoyed this one. I thought it was good. It starts out when the characters are teenagers and they meet in London, I think, on a trip. They just happen to meet and they fall in love and all this stuff, but then betrayal happens, and then we shoot to like 10 years later or something like that when, yeah, I don't want to say things because I don't remember what's on the blurb and what's a spoiler, so I don't want to cross that line. Overall, it was really cute. It was short, and I feel like it could have been a little bit longer, but it was definitely cute, and I enjoyed the sort of second chance romance trope because I love that one. I think it's very meaningful. Next, I read The Iron King. This was the month for rereads. Oh my gosh. So this was one of my favorite series back in high school. I'd only read it once, but I read it, it might have been middle school, like 8th grade and then into like 9th grade probably. Like probably those 2 years is when I was reading these. I adored them back then, and so I've for the longest time been wanting to reread them. But that didn't happen until now. And I was actually very pleasantly surprised. I gave this one 4 stars, but kind of like 4 to 4.5. This was my favorite read of January. What I love about this is it's like one of the first YA Fae books. Like Fae are so popular right now, but this was like the first one. They didn't even spell it the same way. Like now it's like F-A-E, and in this it's F-E-Y, and I just love it. I love it. I am obsessed with Puck and Grimalkin. Those are my 2 favorite characters. And yes, I'm on Team Puck and not Team Ash. I like Ash, but he's not Puck. And so, like, that's all I'm going to say because I don't want to spoil things. But this was just so, I loved it. I loved everything about it. It was awesome. Next, I did an audio reread of the selection because I just felt like it was time to reread it. This is obviously 5 stars because it's one of my favorite series, and there's not much to say about it because I was just rereading the selection because I really wanted to, and so I did the audio version, which I had never listened to before. Not crazy about the narrator's voice, but it's fine because I already know and love the story. I've read it a few times already. Then I listened to Winter's Passage, which is a novella between the Iron King and the Iron Daughter, and I gave that one 4 stars. Then I did an audio reread of The Elite, 5 stars, and The One, 5 stars. So my January was apparently for rereading the selection for sure, and in February I plan on rereading the last 2 books that are kind of like its own duology, but also just a continuation of the series. Next I read The Iron Daughter, which is the 2nd book in the Iron Fae series. This one I didn't like quite as much as the first one. I gave it 3 stars, so I still enjoyed it, but it just didn't amount to like my expectations based on what the first one was. Next, I listened to Renegades. It was my book club read this month for the book club that I run with my best friend Jess. She's at Wild Book Babe on Instagram. I knew going into this that it wasn't going to be my kind of thing because I'm just not into like superheroes. Like I love Spider-Man, but like other than that, I don't care. I'm sorry. But I specifically noted that like if you're a Marvel fan, you're gonna freaking love this book because it was so superhero-y, like so much. Like it's all about superheroes. And so I was like meh on it, and I gave it 2.5 stars. So I did enjoy it more than the Lunar Chronicles in general because for the Lunar Chronicles, written by the same author, books 1 through 3 I gave 2 stars, and then the 4th book I gave 3 stars. But overall, the series is like 2 stars for me. Next, I did an audio reread of Happily Ever After, which is a bunch of like novellas that are like within the selection series. So some of them take place like in the 1st book or in the 2nd book or the 3rd or like between or after, and so like I did a reread of that, and this is a 4-star book for me. Next I read The Iron Queen, which is the 3rd book in the Iron Fae series. I also gave this 3 stars, which again, like I liked it, but I did not love the sequels as much as I loved the first one because the first one was really fantastic, and the sequels are good but not on that same level. Next, I listened to Summer's Passage, which is a novella between the Iron Queen and the Iron Knight, and I gave this one 4 stars because it's Puck's novella, and Puck is my favorite. And I liked the voice for him on the audio because I like hearing his voice because it like makes the character more real, especially when the voice like fits what you imagine for the character. Next, I listened to Arch Enemies, which is the 2nd book to the Renegades trilogy. I gave this one 3 stars, so I liked it better than the first one, and I enjoyed it, kind of. Like, it's on the lower side of 3 stars. It's not like my 3 stars, like, sometimes it can be, it was pretty good, and sometimes it can be like, oh, this was really good. So it's more like on the lower side of that, but I did enjoy it more than the first one, and I'm actually currently listening to Supernova, and so that will be in my February wrap-up. And my final book of the month was The Iron Knight, which is the 4th book in the Iron Fae series, and the final book in the, like, first main series, because then it branches off into like a separate series. It's still the Iron Fae, but it like has another name as well. So this one I gave 3 stars. It was weird to read this one because instead of being from Megan's point of view, it's from Ash's. And look, Puck's on the back, which is cool because Puck is a huge part of this as well. What are you barking at? She has a cute bark, doesn't she? They distracted me. I don't remember if there was anything else I was going to say about this, but it was my last read of the month, and I gave it 3 stars. So that was my January wrap-up. I read 22 books, and I think it went well. I didn't find any 5-star reads, but that's okay because they're pretty rare. In fact, I will give you a little preview of my February wrap-up. When I'm filming this, it is February 3rd, so I've already finished my first book of February, and it was The Shadows Between Us, and I gave it 5 stars, and it's a new favorite. So I do have my first 5-star read. It just didn't happen in January. So I'm very excited to talk to you about The Shadows Between Us in my February wrap-up. Thank you so much for watching. In the comments below, please let me know how many books you read this month, what your favorite was, anything you want to talk about. Thank you so much for watching, and come back next time.